Hello and welcome to the Week 18 edition of the Monster Pod here, presented by TheLines Matt Brown, Mo Nuwwarah, and it is an interesting betting week to say the least. And Mo, I want to kick things off here with, we're going to hear a ton about motivation. We're going to hear a ton about incentives this week when it comes to betting and player props and things like that. How much do you handicap that? How much do you factor that in? Because I know it is something that is, people are going to hear a ton between now and kickoff.
Yeah, I think all that stuff is generally going to be overblown / overbaked into the market. I mean, I've seen some of these guys that post these incentive lists on Twitter. They make me roll my eyes to an extreme degree. Mm-hmm. Those are generally going to be, like, the books are aware of them, and then once people start hammering them, they're going to be like moving too much, most likely, if anything. And then, yeah, I think for years we've seen these supposedly dead teams come out and give these teams are everyone just, some people just don't want to go any deeper. This team's trying, they have to win. This team doesn't. I mean, number one, must win does not mean must cover, as some lovely content creators out there like to say, and that's legitimate. And then also just like, it depends on the team situation. I think generally the younger teams, guys who are, teams that are trying to build for the future, I'm not usually worried about those teams not showing up even if they're dead. I mean, that being said, there's definitely some spots where I'm expecting that this week.
Yeah.
It's going to be more so teams that have been in contention in recent years. So I think we'll get into that. But I wouldn't be too worried about that in most situations. I mean, the guys that are on the field are going to be trying hard. So we know that. So you just take that into account and then figure out which coaching staffs are preparing as well.
Yeah. And one thing we talked about, if you watched our Saturday videos, there is still only so many players on a team. So, like, yes, you can sit key players, and certainly the lines should move. If you're sitting a quarterback and you're sitting a star wide receiver and all, yes, I mean, definitely lines should move. But we got to remember, there are still only 53 players on a roster, right? And so you can't sit everyone. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. There's no way that you can take every one of your starters and guys that get any sort of significant time and just have them sitting over on the sidelines. And so that's another thing to consider, that sure, there should be some movement. We'll talk about a ton of line movement here with what we know from what these teams have told us. However, it is important to remember, it's not everyone that's going to be over on the sidelines. They have to put some guys out there because there's only so many. Remember, some of these guys are like special teams only players, basically, and all this. Like they're taking up roster spots, and so there's things in which we're going to have starters out there. So just kind of remember that as we're handicapping this as well. So we'll kick things off here. It is Saturday football. Cleveland Browns on the road at the Baltimore Ravens. Matt Brown, Mo Nuwwarah here for the lines. Going to break this one down for you here, guys. This is sitting anywhere from 19.5 all the way to 20.5 now in favor of the Baltimore Ravens, with a total, yes, of 41 in some places, 41.5 at other places. Mo, I'm sure this has happened in my lifetime, and I'm sure this has happened even more recently than my brain wants to remember. That said, off the top of my head, as high as 20.5 and as low as 41, I don't know if I have seen something like this. Again, I don't remember it anyway.
Yeah, there's people out there acting like this is like unprecedented. I'm old enough to remember the 55 touchdown Peyton Manning Broncos. They were, I want to say, like minus 26 against, I think, the winless Jags. And then the 2007 Patriots were north of 20 several times down the stretch. I don't think these teams were generally covering. I know that the Broncos didn't, and I think the Patriots mostly were not as well. I think there's probably pretty good reason for that. That being said, I'm not taking the Browns.
Yeah. I mean, if anyone's wondering what's going on here, it's Bailey Zappi is starting for Cleveland. They're going to give DTR apparently some snaps as well. Baltimore wins and they win the AFC North. So it's that whole motivation versus no motivation. It seems like Cleveland might rest some of these dudes that have some lingering injuries as well. So, Mo, we're just kind of sitting here with this like dead team walking, running out of Bailey Zappi, and then Baltimore kind of doing what Baltimore does. That being said, I mean, again, at MGM, we're looking at 20.5. Like, yeah, they have to full on win by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, and could they? Absolutely. I mean, the Ravens are the Lions of the AFC. I mean, if they can run it up, they often do. That being said, I think if there was ever a spot not to, it's going to be the last game of the season when you don't have a bye. So, do they probably want to get their starters out of there? I would assume yes. But yeah, it's like you said. I mean, I'm a big believer in these kind of dead teams being the value sides pretty often. I just am worried that the Browns are like full on shutdown mode. When you start taking all the players off the field, Denzel Ward, David Njoku, Jordan Hicks, Jerome Ford, you got Myles Garrett banged up. I mean, I know Bailey Zappi's probably better than DTR. I don't know how much he moves the needle here, though, because when you start taking the players off the field, then it becomes an organizational tank, and I think that might be what we're looking at here. 14-mile-per-hour winds as well, so that could keep the scoring down overall, which probably favors the dog, but, I mean, I don't really buy into this, like, Ravens defensive resurgence with Kyle Hamilton at safety. I think they've been playing some pretty bad teams, bad offenses and whatever. I want to see it against somebody with a pulse, but I kind of think the Ravens can run this up if they want to. I just don't know if they want to.
Yeah, I started to look, and it's, obviously these books have caught up to kind of how we would normally try to go about playing one of these games. I instantly looked at like, what is a Keaton Mitchell anytime touchdown, right? Because it's like Derrick Henry plays quarter and a half, maybe the first half, they give way in the second half and whatever. Keaton Mitchell anytime touchdowns plus 180. So I mean, it's like the books have like gotten on to,
I would have guessed like plus 400 and been like, I think that's playable.
Yeah. I mean, I instantly looked at it, I'm like, hey, this could probably be some value. And it's like, oh, plus 180 on Keaton Mitchell to score an anytime touchdown. Now, maybe this game, if you're playing DFS or something like that, you look at like a Keaton Mitchell or something. Like, I couldn't tell you because we don't know for sure when they're going to pull all these dudes and stuff. And it's like, Mo, like you said, like I was hoping for 4.5 to 1. I'm kind of like, okay, there's a better than a 4 to 1 chance, 4.5 to 1 chance that he plays the whole fourth quarter, in my opinion, given how this game plays out. And I'm like, I'll take a 4 to 1 for him to punch one in the fourth quarter. Plus 180. Like the books are like, man, you're not stealing our money. Like it's not happening. So it seems like this is left for kind of single game fantasy or single day fantasy or something like that. Cause I could not recommend a bet at plus 180 for a backup running back that we don't know exactly when he's going to get in the game and actually get some run.
Yeah. I mean, if I was going to look for a prop in this game, I might look at Bailey Zappi over attempts. I just aren't they going to be down multiple touchdowns and they don't have a running game with Jerome Ford out? I mean, who is running the ball? I don't even know if like Deontay Foreman and Pierre Strong are playing. So I just think like whatever, let's let Bailey Zappi huck it around the yard and see what happens, I guess. It's not like he's going to be efficient where he's just like getting 20-yard plays or anything. So
no. And even if like they decide, okay, Jerry Jeudy, you get to play a half and like whatever, there's only so many players on a team. So this is something also that will be the theme of if you guys follow us for the full Sunday preview as well. Like, yeah, teams will rest like key players and stuff, but remember, you still can only have 53 dudes on a roster. So, I mean, like it's not like one of those deals you can just sit everybody that has any sort of significance whatsoever, right? I mean, they still have to put bodies out on the field, which is why I think the thing that I landed on, and I again haven't put it in the account yet, but so Elijah Moore is not going to have the luxury of like coming off the field, right? For the Browns, they just don't have enough body. They put Tillman on IR. They've got all this stuff, so it's kind of like I think Elijah Moore is just out there for the duration. And as you said, at some point, the Browns are literally just going to drop back every single down and throw the ball. His number's at 23.5 yards. And it's just kind of like, look, volume alone on this dude, like I'm thinking in the second half, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he gets 6 or 7 targets just in the second half alone when they're down 3 scores. So that's the only one that really kind of came around to me. And I'm sure you can probably tell me I'm crazy there with that.
I mean, I don't think Bailey Zappi is going to like throw down the field from watching him. I can tell you that. So I would expect a large amount of shorter throws, and that's probably what the Ravens are going to be happy to give up once they're up, even if they're only up 14 and like there's 6 minutes left, you know?
Mm-hmm. No, I'm with you 100%. If someone made me play this, I think I would take the points based off of basically kind of how we've discussed this, where you can be up 27 and the back door still be open, right? I mean, like that's one thing to think about here in the fourth quarter, which is this team could be up 27 points and the back door still be open for a trash Bailey Zappi to Elijah Moore touchdown, you know, in the fourth quarter or something like that. So I just couldn't get there. Any thought at all on the total? I mean, again, there's a flat 41 out there.
Yeah, I would think the over.
Yeah.
But just based on the fact that there's situations where the Ravens are going to score more than 40 themselves. Mm-hmm. But my concern there would be the weather. Yeah. And like I said, the fact that the Ravens might call off the dogs if it's 27-0.
It's such a wild game, guys. Listen, like I said, I think to me, I'll probably end up with a small play on Elijah Moore, and it's basically based off of just the fact that they're going to be trailing, throwing a ton. He can't come off the field. Like, again, they only have so many players, right? And so it's just like, you're going to rest Jerry Jeudy before you're resting Elijah Moore. You're going to take care of Jerry Jeudy before you're taking care of Elijah Moore. So I think he could just be out there for the duration here in this one for the Browns. Cincinnati Bengals on the road at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Matt Brown, Mo Nuwwarah, brought to you by The Lines here. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening to us on the audio side, hit that comment section, hit that review section as well. Let everybody know that you're getting some good information here. 2.5 in favor of Cincinnati on the road at Pittsburgh. 47.5 is our total, plus 114 if you want the money line, thinking the Steelers win this thing outright. Mo, we know what the deal is here. Cincinnati, to keep their very, very slim chances at the playoffs alive, do in fact have to win this game. I guess the wrinkle here would be the Steelers could, in theory, have really kind of nothing to play for here in this one if the Ravens win and whatever. I mean, if we're kind of like reading the tea leaves of what happens on Sunday, right? And so I don't know exactly how Tomlin is going to play it should the Ravens go ahead and win that early game. Motivations and things and whatnots are all stuff that we're trying to have to guess here in Week 18.
Yeah, it's super up in the air in this one. This is one of the most hard to read spots because it's like, in theory, the Steelers should be playing hard no matter what, because you probably want to face the Texans and not the Ravens in the first round. But I don't know how the Steelers staff basically weighs that against a possible bye week. We have seen Tomlin rest his guys in the past for the most part in these spots, but I don't know if seeding was in play in those spots. And it is here where basically if the Steelers were to lose and the Chargers were to win, they would drop a spot in the seeding and wind up playing in Baltimore, where they're obviously going to be pretty big underdogs. They're barely going to be underdogs to Houston.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's pretty clear that they should want to win this game. Mm-hmm. But also, like, say it's 17-3.
Yeah.
Do you ever just like value the rest more at that point too?
So this is the thing that I brought up earlier in the week, where it's like, it might not be a rest situation from the get-go. It could be a rest situation in game where, as Mo just brought up, the scenario just plays out where you're midway through the third quarter, you're down 2 touchdowns, you're down maybe even 3 scores or something. And it's just like, okay, at this point, it's just not worth it at all. Our fate is all but sealed. Let's go ahead and get these dudes off the field and all that. It's a deal for me, Mo, where I think I could only find myself on Cincinnati's side, and this has nothing to do with the motivation factor of Cincinnati or anything like that. I think it just comes down to there are scenarios that exist in which the Steelers could decide, as you mentioned, that just getting some of these guys off the field, even if it's resting, even if getting an extra quarter and a half of 2 quarters of not taking hits, of not having to, whatever it might be, not having to block, not having anything like that for some of these linemen, some of these defensive guys that have been nicked up along the way, if they don't find their way to the sideline. So again, for me, I think it would have to be Bengals or pass for me. I don't think I could feel super comfortable backing the Steelers here. Certainly not at under a field goal.
I mean, yeah, I agree with you in the sense of I could see some situations where the Steelers pull their guys. That being said, if the Steelers try, if somebody gave me a crystal ball, no results, but they said Steelers are trying this whole game, I think +2 is a bit too high. Mm-hmm. I think there's some signal in the thrashing that the Steelers handed the Bengals in the prior game. Russell Wilson threw for 414 yards in that game. I think that has some signal. And I know that Cincinnati's defense has definitely gotten a few stops in recent weeks. I think they're just basically feasting on tomato can offenses for the most part. I mean, the Broncos definitely played much better on offense than some more recent opponents like the Browns and the Titans. Pittsburgh seems like a worse team than they were at that point of the season for sure. I still think +2 is a bit too high. I had my fare closer to even on this one. I do favor the Bengals very slightly, but it's not 2 for me. But I'm not looking to bet the Steelers. I think if you okay, so let me reverse that. I did bet the Steelers money line. Mm-hmm. If you can find a book that will let you parlay Steelers money line with Raiders money line, this is a correlated parlay that I think is plus EV clearly, because even if you just think the Steelers is a fair line, which is basically what I think, basically if they win, the Chargers will just basically bench everybody. They have no reason to play hard. So at that point, Raiders money line becomes really good, I think. I think the Raiders, I don't know how deep in the weeds we want to get into this, but I think the Raiders should probably close favored if that happens, and they're +4 right now. So that's just a little sprinkle fun parlay. It should be around +500. It's already coming down on the Raiders end because of this. I think people have realized this, and some books won't even let you parlay these because they're correlated. If your book won't let you parlay them, then just throw in a third game that you like and make it a 3-teamer, and it still should be plus EV basically because of the Steelers and the Raiders correlation. So that's what I did just for fun here, but it's not a big bet or anything. I just think it's a fun sweat because it's highly correlated. The Raiders should be favored if the Steelers win. So even though I don't think the Steelers are gonna win, that's not my pick in this game, I think it's reasonable enough that they could win, that the Raiders being +180 or whatever they are is crazy given this situation.
I think there's a way, if you want to kind of get a two-way bet here in on Cincinnati as well, which is is there a scenario, in your opinion, Mo, given the state of the run game for Cincinnati, given that Chase Brown's kind of banged up as it is anyway, it looks like it might have to be some Khalil Herbert in all of this or whatever, Joe Burrow at 300 yards, you can find at +130 out there. And it's kind of if they win, they're very likely passing efficiently and Joe Burrow's having a big game. And if they're getting down in this game, then it's likely that they just completely and totally abandon the run. And unlike most teams, they actually thrive in these situations. I know a lot of times these teams are oh, you think this works in their favor. It actually works against them because the defense knows exactly what you're going to do, and they're able to just tee off with the pass rush and all that. But it's a different animal with Burrow and Chase and T. Higgins and all the stuff like that. I wonder if there's kind of a 2-outcome bet in Burrow at either his over 274.5, which is out there, or just at the 300 plus at a +130, +135-ish number, where a good outcome gets you there, and then even a bad outcome gets you there as well.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. And I was going to say, and you made me think definitely along those lines. If the Bengals fall behind, like say it's like 14-3, I mean, I don't know what the live total would be, but I would guess it's not going to be reflecting enough what you're saying, which you can probably just automatically bet the live over and just have a good bet at that point, because it's like you said, they're just going to throw every down, and whether they're successful or not, I mean,
Yeah.
like they're going to go for fourths too, like own
Yeah.
territory, stuff like that. I've seen Zach Taylor be aggressive in these spots in the past, and I think with the season on the line, he definitely would. So I do like that look as well. And same thing if Cincy gets up, where like we were saying, I would think Cincinnati live at that point might be good. I know their defense probably won't get stops, but like we said, I could see Pittsburgh just resting their guys and just being like, okay, we're probably not winning this game, so let's not risk anything stupid happening.
Right.
Cincinnati minus.
They already saw what this offense looks like without George Pickens, right? Like you're Mike Tomlin, you're not a moron, right? It's like you're like, hey, if this dude gets hurt again running an unnecessary route, like we have zero chance of winning in the playoffs.
Just like a minimal leverage spot where very unlikely you're affecting the outcome at that point. It seems kind of silly at that point, and we have seen the Steelers value rest, so I think this is going to be a good live betting game no matter what.
Yeah, it's certainly one to pay attention to, guys, and of course we'll have good information because we'll know what happens with Baltimore earlier in the day by the time that this thing kicks off again. Sitting about 2.5 in favor of Cincinnati on the road, as low as 47.5, as high as 48.5 out there in the market from a total standpoint. New Orleans Saints on the road at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We certainly know all about this one when it comes to motivation. It is out to 14.5 in favor of Tampa Bay. 43.5 is our total. And Mo, Tampa Bay wins. They win the South. Everything's good to go. We've saw this game not too long ago in which the Bucs went on the road and throttled the Saints, and so now they head back home here, get a Saints team that I'm guessing. I know we're hearing stuff about Olave, and I know we're hearing stuff about Kamara, but I mean, why? I mean, seriously, like why? Why would you ever, if these guys have even the most nagging of injury, would you run them back out there in a meaningless Week 18 game? I don't know. I am capping this as if those dudes are not playing. I guess I could be surprised come Sunday.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't see a reason they would play. I know they're listing them as questionable, but it's just hard to imagine they'll go. On the one hand, you look at this is maybe a classic divisional dog spot, but I mean, in those spots, I'm generally looking for teams that have something left. I mean, this is like a Saints team they haven't shown signs of life in weeks. I mean, they get blanked in one of the most pitiful performances you will ever see by the Packers. I mean, you see teams get shut out, but you generally, when that happens, you're seeing them at least threaten to score in some spots. It never even felt like the Saints were close to scoring in that game. And then they just get smacked at home by the Raiders. I mean, I think this line is like pretty fair. I would basically be looking for a second half under, if anything here. I just see this as a spot where, again, Tampa Bay, it's kind of similar to how we talked about with the Bengals and the Ravens. Like, if things are in hand, I don't see Tampa Bay keeping their guys out there. I mean, they've had a guy break his leg in a essentially dead spot, a key player this year. I'm hoping they've learned from that as a fan, because like we're going to see this team in the playoffs. I don't want to see a shell of the Bucs. I want to see the real Bucs. So, yeah, I would guess if they're up 2 scores in the second half, they're going to just run the ball and try to get out of there without anyone else getting hurt. And I think the Saints are generally going to feel the same about themselves. They might want to give Spencer Rattler some reps or whatever it may be as a future backup. But I just see both teams trying to kill the clock and call it a season basically in the second half if the Bucs are up big. So I'd maybe look for a live under here in the second half.
Do we buy into the Mike Evans stuff? So we talked about the incentives thing, guys. This is one of the bigger ones that you're going to hear about. Mike Evans, if he gets 5 catches and 85 yards, that will get him to 1,000 yards. He will set the record for most consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. It also is worth $3 million to him on bonus standpoint for his contract, which as Mo talked about, we usually see the adjustments in this. Well, if you go out there, the lowest number you can find on Mike Evans is 97.5 yards. There is as high as 100.5 on Mike Evans out there. I mean, look, here's the thing. Do I think they want to get it to him? Yes. But also, Mo, I think it kind of needs to be in the normal game flow of everything here. And sure, if he gets to 74 yards, are they going to get him the extra 11 yards? Yes. But I mean, if we're sitting middle of the third quarter and he's only got 47 yards, like they're not, like you said, I mean, with the stuff that happened to Chris Godwin or whatever, I don't know. That's tough for me. I mean,
especially with Baker Mayfield's propensity to throw hospital balls, that would make me very nervous if I was a member of like the Bucs decision-making brass. Like I would not want to risk being in that situation.
Yeah, again, I think in general, if you asked everyone, of course you want to get the dude $3 million. Of course you want to get him this milestone thing, a most consecutive 1,000-yard seasons to start a career, and all of those things like that. Like I get all of those things. It's just tough for me. It's really tough for me to get there. It wouldn't surprise me the second he got to 86 yards if they pulled him. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like if he breaks this by a yard or two, and now we're talking about like as high as 100.5 in the market out there, I think I could only play under, even with the whole incentive thing here, Mo.
Yeah, that number seems crazy. I mean, I don't think, like you said, this is the Bucs are trying to win the Super Bowl. I know that's going to make people roll their eyes because they're basically probably drawing dead. But that's what those players and coaches are going into that locker room every day believing. And if that's the mission, you can't be risking it in I'm not going to say meaningless game, because obviously it has a lot of meaning. They need to win the game, but running up the score doesn't help anybody.
No. And as you mentioned, I think even though they won't say it out loud, the Godwin stuff has to be lingering in their minds. I mean, again, they were basically dead in the game, and the guy, you go out there and lose, one of the best slot receivers there is in the NFL. And so that's just a brutal situation there for them. Okay. New York Football Giants on the road at the Philadelphia Eagles. This is 2.5 in favor of the Eagles. 37.5 is our total. So Mo, you can let me know if you've heard anything different. I mean, I'm guessing this is going to be Tanner McKee. Kenny Pickett and Hurts have not practiced so far this week. And again, this is talk about a team that has Super Bowl aspirations. I mean, like, why in the hell would you ever run Kenny Pickett out there if you think that there's any chance at all that he's not good to go? So I'm kind of looking at this as if it's McKee. And if that's the case, then that certainly changes the conversation a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. My initial numbers had the Eagles as where the market had them, which was like 3.5. And I see that this is getting hammered the other way. And then when I see this Eagles practice report, I mean, they basically took the week off. Like every starter is listed as DNP non-injury. If you look at the practice report, man, my buddies with Gridiron Gamble basically convinced me that Giants are probably the side here. I was kind of leaning Eagles, but when I see this practice report, out of all the teams, the Eagles might be the team that looks like they're definitely just like taking the week off here. And I'm a little bit tempted to sell high on the Giants if such a thing exists after actually like winning a football game last week. But they also have multiple offensive linemen out too, which makes me nervous on a team where the line is not good as it is. But when I see what the Eagles are doing, I mean, this is going to be the most vanilla game plan possible. It's like we said, the guys out there are going to try, but this coaching staff, I don't think is going to be trying here. They're going to be starting to get game plans prepped for next week. And it's just going to be, 12 plays for the third string quarterback, run these 12 plays. Everybody try hard, get your reps in, put some film on, some good stuff on film if you can, but like we're on to next week. So Tebow might be coaching for his job. I don't know what to think about this spot.
Yeah, it's like I was looking too, and it's like, is there anything for me to grasp onto? And it's like, then you look at the depth chart, even at the wide receiver position for the Eagles, and it's like fifth and sixth round draft picks and shit. Like, it's not even, I mean, it's thin. So it's going to be like McKee throw into whatever Johnny Wilson is and like stuff like that, whatever. I'm kind of like, I was like you. I wanted to say, oh, okay, we have overvalued the whole thing here. And I mean, even the second stringers for Philadelphia should be able to at least handle this Giants team. But then you start to look and it's like, dude, there's the backup offensive linemen are all kind of like trash. It's just, it's like obviously a awesome starting offensive line, but I mean, the backup offensive linemen are rookie dudes out of the fifth round and free agents and stuff. I don't know. If it gets to 3, and it very well might, because I mean it's a juice 2.5 right now. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the play is Giants at the full field goal.
Yeah, I mean, this was 3.5 for a lot of the early part of the week, which I thought was totally fine. And now I'm just wondering if I think it is definitely going to be Tanner McKee. And like you said, I mean, the days of like Olamide Zaccheaus, I think was maybe on this team, and like Nelson Aguilar, like the days of their depth being like good at receiver are long in the past. Yeah. So, and then the backup running backs is like, Kenneth Gainwell, Will Shipley. I think these guys are probably pretty bad. And yeah, I just expect the coaching staff to be like, they're probably prepping 2 different game plans for basically Washington and Green Bay. Like,
as they should.
If that was I was on that staff, that's what I'd be doing.
Exactly. I mean, as they should, right? I mean, like, that's what I would be doing as well. So it'd probably be Giants or pass for me. It looks like it might get back to 3. I think that probably would be the side for me, crazy enough, as we move into this. Buffalo on the road at New England. This is 2.5 in favor of Buffalo. 36.5 to 37.5 is our total out there. We already know Josh Allen probably going to do a one series type thing for Buffalo to kind of keep the streak alive, is what we're hearing. New England comes out, Mo, and for whatever reason is going to start Drake May. Seems ridiculous to me, but whatever. I don't coach in the NFL, so it is what it is. Again, us having to try to guess here. How long is Buffalo going to play these dudes? What do they care about? Not much to play for here, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, am I allowed to beg on camera? Can I beg
yes,
real quick?
Just
give me 30 seconds to beg. I am begging you, Buffalo. 20 yards. Give me 20 Josh Allen yards. If I don't win over 3750 yards in a season where he wins MVP, that would just be the most ridiculous L I've maybe ever taken in sports betting. I need 20 yards, guys.
Just one drive. That's it. Get it to him on one drive.
But, yeah, what do I think about this game? Listen, if Drake May is playing, which they're saying they want to start him, I don't know if that's what I would want to do.
Yeah,
that was the
I know.
We've seen enough to know he's good.
Exactly.
I know that, like, you want reps, but you also kind of want to tank, so I would just maybe – it's not like Brissett's, like, the worst, though. So if he ends up playing – I mean, whatever. Are they losing a lot? Probably not. But what they're losing is the over. That's what I would wonder about here is your weekly Patriots over. I like it if May is going to play the whole game. But
we were hearing,
not, I don't know.
I read this morning that it was like the guy actually getting the reps was Joe Milton.
See, that's kind of what I would want to do.
Right. It's like, so maybe May only plays a quarter or something, or a half or something, and then we see Joe Milton. Like, I don't know. I mean, it makes all the sense in the world, right? I mean, Jacoby Brissett, fine. You've got him as a bridge quarterback to Drake May. Well, you've already made the bridge. You're not going to re-sign Jacoby Brissett most likely, so you should probably see if Joe Milton could be your backup next year. I mean, that's it. Again, I think you and I think of this a little bit too logically sometimes, and like these coaches are kind of like, hell no, we're going in there. So it's like, no, man, like, shouldn't you find out if that guy can be your backup?
I think if the staff is definitely safe, then yeah. I mean, when you're a bad team and you're projecting as a bad team, you probably want to spend as little money on your backup quarterback as possible, right? So Yeah, I would not expect. I don't know what to do with this game because there's so many unknowns. But do I think Mitch Trubisky can move the ball against a very bad Patriots defense that doesn't have Christian Gonzalez? It looks like. Yeah, I do. Yeah. So Bills' small favorite to me feels right. I think there's enough juice here with Trubisky and the backups that they can probably. I mean, we've seen how bad the Patriots' first string defense is. So
yeah,
I do think the Bills should probably be favored. So I kind of am on board with this market, but I think the over would be a good bet. I mean, it's so low, 38. I think it's a good bet if May plays, but I don't know what's going to happen there. I mean, it's not like they've came out and said he's going to play. They came out and said, well, if he's healthy, he's going to play. That gives you plausible deniability that you can just, if you decide you want to tank, he's not feeling the best today.
Yeah, and I know guys, you hate to hear this because you're like, I'm listening to this on a Friday or Saturday. Great, tell me to live bet something on a Sunday. But again, if Drake May plays 2 series and then they go to Milton, like Mo said, at least Trubisky's got like a little bit of juice. I mean, like he's a dude that can play in the league, and so that would instantly be a live bet for me on Buffalo. But again, you have to watch the game live. You got to, and you got to be able to pull the trigger live on all of this. This one also hosts one of the most laughable incentive things that I've seen going around on the internet this week, in which Dawson Knox is 8 catches away from a $200,000 bonus on his thing or whatever. Dawson Knox ain't getting no 8 catches in this game. And it's only $200K. I know it's $200K is $200K, but like, it's, again, like pump the brakes, guys. Like don't go nuts on Dawson Knox props because he needs 8 catches to get $200,000. It's not gonna happen. Chicago Bears on the road at the Green Bay Packers. This is 10.5 in favor of Green Bay at home over Chicago. 41.5 is our total here in this one. Mo, this is another one of those interesting ones, right? Where you look at Green Bay and it's kind of like they're going to be the 6 or the 7. They're already in the playoffs. It's tough, right? To kind of figure out what may or may not happen here.
Yeah, I think Green Bay would like to win. They're pretty banged up, though.
Yeah.
Like multiple starting defenders, Christian Watson. I mean, Love should shred this Bears defense. He did it last year. I could see this game being pretty high scoring, to be honest. The total is like only 41. It's cold, but no wind. So I think that's good for the over. It's just hard to trust you're getting anything from the Chicago offense after yet another stink bomb last week. This coaching staff seems like they are very far in over their heads. I mean, I know Matt Eberflus wasn't a great coach, but he was prepping the team to play professional football every week. I think like there's at least that. I don't know if that's happening right now with this team. I would lean Bears and the over, but I just don't know if I can stomach that.
Yeah, and so here's another one, and we haven't gotten to this game yet, but there could be some scoreboard watching as well, right? Like, so Washington is a little less than a touchdown favorite against Dallas. If Washington wins, no matter what Green Bay does, it doesn't matter. And so, like you said, there are some nagging injuries on Green Bay's side. If they look up and Washington's up 17, what are you doing? Are you running these guys out there to run meaningless routes and block meaningless, take a chance of getting rolled up on and all the different stuff like that. And so that's what scares me as well, which also kind of would be, I would have to take the points with Chicago or pass, mainly because I don't expect that we're going to get a crazy good effort out of Dallas against Washington anyway. We're rumblings could be some Trey Lance in this one as well and everything like that. And so, as gross as it sounds, there is a 10.5 out there. You're on the other side of 10 with a game that Green Bay could look up and say, okay, guys, Washington's going to win. Now it's time to hit the sideline, right? Like they could play it straight, Mo, for a half and then realize it's all for naught. And then we just see them pull the plug. So I think it'd have to be the 10.5 with Chicago for me or pass.
Yeah, I'm tempted to pull the trigger on Bears. It's hard for me to get behind this team, but this is one of the teams that we know is going to be out there trying hard, giving Caleb as many reps as they can because they need him to develop. So
Yeah.
every live rep he can take has value to the Bears. So they are going to be trying to score and win this game against a division rival that they kind of hate. So I just feel like the Bears should be trying hard. My only fear is that the Bears are just so bad and this coaching staff is so bad that it doesn't even matter. I mean, when you're scoring 3 and whatever, you're buried 20-0 every other week before that, like we were talking about, this team feels very dead. But again, it's 10.5 points against a team that I know we'll get to the Commanders game when we get to it, but I'm completely with you on that one.
So let's go. We'll just skip down to that one since they are correlated here. And so we'll say Commanders on the road at the Cowboys. This is 6.5 in favor of Washington on the road at Dallas. 43.5 to 44.5 is our total out there. And as we said, I mean, the deal here with Washington is the same deal that we were just sitting there talking about with Green Bay. They're going to be either the 6 or the 7, except they are the one that control it. And if they win, then it doesn't matter. And then they can't get jumped by Green Bay in this thing. And so, I'll put it this way. If I were them, I'd want to not have to go to Philly and play. I'll just put it that way. I would not want to go to Philly and play if I had the choice to do that. So I kind of expect like the A+, 10 out of 10, every pull out all the stops type thing here for the Commanders.
Yeah, I think they're just going to, I mean, they've kind of hinted at that. Mm-hmm. I believe Dan Quinn has came out and said, yeah, we're playing for seeding. So they care about this game. This is one of the bets that went into my account early in the week. Commanders -4.5. I did not understand this line. I still don't understand this line. I think 5 is like still fine to play. I had my fair like 6, I think, or 6.5. I would have to double check. But I mean, guys, the Commies were -10.5 at home against Dallas. And that was with CeeDee Lamb out there. Now their best player is out. And we're all the way down to 4.5. I do not understand that at all. I mean, I understand that like they lost that game, so maybe that line was a bit off. I don't think it was like 6 points off or whatever. Yeah. I mean, I feel like they should be at least -6, 6.5 here. I like the over in this game as well. Bit of a buy low on a Dallas offense that probably deserved to score more than 7 points last week and probably has a bit of market stink after that 41-7 thrashing. I think that was the final score. I don't know how they're stopping Jaden Daniels on an indoor track here. I know Micah Parsons is playing great, but all these injuries, there is not a lot left on either side of the ball for Dallas. I'd be concerned that without CeeDee Lamb, that I don't think we probably don't need more than 17 points or so here to get to this over. I do like the over quite a bit. I also put that in my account, and I like Washington. I don't understand. I don't know how they get stops, and I don't know how the market has shifted 6 points here after, that was like a month and a half ago, whatever it was. That wasn't ancient history.
No, not at all. I didn't catch the 4.5, but I did catch the 5 on the way up, and I put this one in as well. To me, it's very curious too that I think what's not getting baked in here, sure, there's a little bit on this whole motivation thing, but like Dallas also, like we talked about, if we believe Jerry Jones and the coaching staff is safe and all the different stuff like that, I mean, there's no reason for them to put anybody at risk either in this game. We already know the people that are definitely going to be out, and I think that there's probably a decent chance between now and when this thing kicks off that we start to hear rumblings more about maybe this isn't going to necessarily be, the complete full effort here from Dallas. Oh, we want to get reps for Trey Lance and see what he looks like and all the different stuff like that. I think there might be some shenanigans here at this one too.
Listen, if Trey Lance is out there, then I fear for my over. Okay. But I do feel like Washington is probably basically a lock if Trey Lance is out there.
Yeah. So again, I didn't get the 4.5, but I did get the 5, and I like that one a lot. Probably my favorite bet, actually, of the week here, Washington and Dallas. Jacksonville on the road at Indianapolis, 4.5 to 5 in favor of Indy, 43.5 up to 44 is our total. Could be the last game ever for Joe Flacco. Seems like this is his retirement game here, Mo. Are the Colts going to rally around Flacco and get, I mean, there's no, I say that in jokingly, guys. He has no history with this team or anything like that. Whatever. So that said, it is something people are bringing up that it could be Joe Flacco's last game here in this one. I will give Jacksonville this. They don't have any talent, but they've been playing hard, and Mac Jones has at least been being smart, which is just pepper Brian, just literally just pepper your first round pick with 1 million targets and just let Brian Thomas go to town and do whatever he does. So to give Jacksonville some credit, I think they haven't been complete like dirt bags at least the last month of the season.
And that's good for the team, right?
Yeah.
Like they want him to get as many quality reps as they can. So Mac Jones is, from the team's perspective, doing the Lord's work.
Yeah.
Like maybe they're not losing as much as they want to, but they definitely want Brian Thomas to develop as much as possible. I'm going to come out and say I have some egg on my face in this one. I took a horrific number, apparently. I fired over 45 in this game. Mm-hmm. I mean, I am baffled that the under is getting hit in this one. I don't get it, man. Why would there be stops in this game? I mean, the only thing that I can think of is that the Colts are pissed off after last week. They got trucked by a horrific Giants offense, and they're going to come out with more effort this week, which, yeah, I mean, they should, obviously. I still do not understand why there would be stops in this game. Yeah. This is an indoor track with really, really stinky defenses. The Jags secondary is basically the nut low. They are facing a somewhat dangerous Indy passing game. I mean, Joe Flacco is, this side of Jameis Winston, he's like the number one walking over in the NFL because he's either going to throw picks or throw deep. Yeah. So just like that guy is fuel for the over. And like you said, the Mac BTJ connection, it's doing it right now. The Colts couldn't stop Drew Lock indoors. The Jags, or they couldn't stop Drew Lock outdoors, rather, and the Jags can't stop anybody all year. These teams combined for 70 last time they played. I cannot understand why this total is coming down, but I'm just rolling with my ugly number now.
I mean, I don't. Everything you said makes perfect sense to me. It's an indoor game. We're in a dome. We're not worried about anything at all. And I don't think the Jacksonville coaching staff thinks that they're a lame duck coaching staff. I think that they are holding on to the hope that they're going to be back. And I mean, they've been calling they've been doing all they can do, right? I mean, the team just doesn't have a ton outside of Brian Thomas, but I mean, look, they've been doing what they can do on the offensive side. And yeah, I can't even like this. I can't even like their side. I think I would only take the points with Jacksonville here in this one too. I think they could be feisty in this thing.
Yeah, I initially had the Colts a bit of a bigger favorite than I do now. When I went back and looked again, I did have them a little south of 5, so that's the side I would lean to for sure. But I really liked this over, and apparently I'm an idiot according to the market, so I guess we'll see what happens.
Nah, this thing will kick at 45. This thing will kick at 45. I'm pretty solid on that. Carolina on the road at Atlanta. This is 7.5 all the way to 8.5 in favor of Atlanta. 48.5 is our total here. Now, this is one of those scenarios where Atlanta has to win for a shot at the NFC South. And of course, that would be their only route to the playoffs in all of this. And, they're going to be playing at the same time as everything else. So, I mean, it's going to be a full go there for the Falcons.
Yeah, this is one of the classic ones that I do like a bit. I'm tempted. I'm close to pulling the trigger on the Panthers. Mm-hmm. My fear here is that they're just going to get bulldozed by Bijan. This defense is very, very, very bad. I mean, they made Bucky Irving look like, Walter Payton that 1 week. Yeah. And Bijan is rolling right now. he was looking very good. That being said, Bryce is still playing better. I don't think he's going to fall into the Jesse Bates traps that he fell into. Man, I will never forget having Carolina early in the season. I think it was last year against the Falcons, and Jesse Bates was just like toying with Bryce Young. But I think he's progressed to the point where he's ready for that. Penix, he looked good at times last week, but he also missed a lot of easy throws. I'm concerned that he's a bit of a one-trick pony right now, where if he's not basically able to rifle it to a guy over the middle, it doesn't seem like his medium accuracy outside the hashes was pretty poor. Anytime he had to like layer throws over guys, it was like he sailed them all. And he doesn't look like he has any chemistry deep with Darnell Mooney yet, which kind of baffles me. I feel like that's a kind of a match made in heaven there, where Mooney should be thriving with Penix. It's still hard to cover 2 scores, even if you're running the ball well, by running the ball. And I think we've seen the Falcons staff is a little bit hesitant to trust Penix. They do seem like they want to be run first, run second, and then pass when running isn't working. And that's not usually the formula for covering 2 scores. So I do think the Panthers might have some value here.
Yeah, I was looking and trying to figure out if I can get to a bet off of a 1-game sample. But as you said, like we did see Penix come out and then target Kyle Pitts 5 times last week. I think those throws might be a little bit more comfortable for him. I think whatever, but again, it's a 1-game sample, so you have to take this leap of faith. But Pitts is sitting at 26.5 receiving yards. I think that there is a world that exists where Pitts kind of ends up becoming Penix's like go-to dude here in this game. I don't know. I think I'll put it this way, if I was firing like a same game parlay or something like that, I think Pitts being a part of this would certainly be in the handicap for me, because I don't know if Penix and those deep balls are going to really connect here in his 3rd start in the NFL. I'm sure there'll be a ton of them next year, but 26.5 just seems low for a guy, but only 1-game sample size for me. So I would need all 5 of those targets to happen again in order to get there. And so that's the thing that kind of gives me pause here on the Pitt side of things. But I thought it's worth mentioning if anybody else is looking for a way to play this game. Houston on the road at Tennessee. This is a point and a half in favor of the Titans. 36.5 to 37 is our total here in this one. Yeah, this is a game that's going to happen, Mo. This is a game. The Houston's locked into the 4. There's nothing they can do. The Titans, if you want to bet the Titans, go to town. I don't know. This, like I said, every week there's a game. This is it. Put it on the rocket, fire it into the sun. I might not even watch this one. I watch every game I might not even watch this game.
I'm with you. I got nothing on this one. I mean, this is going to be the Davis Mills show, but he doesn't really have anybody to throw to. I obviously think like they're going to try to help him get some stuff on tape, you know. He's trying to make a career as a backup in this league. The Titans, though, are going to be very motivated. They're mixing quarterbacks. Those guys are definitely looking to put some tape on that's decent. And the coaches are going to be trying to develop their young players. The coaches are going to be trying to show that they belong in this league as a coaching staff. I kind of get it why the Titans are favored, but I'm also like, aren't the Texans backups like better than some of the Titans players? I mean, I don't. Yeah. And some of these starters are still going to play, like you were saying. So, I got no interest in this one.
Yeah, this one is absolutely brutal. I don't know is Tony Pollard gonna are they gonna try to bring him back to play? I
would guess so, just because Tyjae Spears, who I think they want to get reps, I think is out. So they're probably going to let Pollard go. I don't really see any other running backs on the roster that they probably view as longer-term pieces. I mean, man, this is just an ugly, ugly game that, like you said, it's going to happen.
Yeah, and it's going to be out there.
I don't have any expectations about anything either way in this
now,
game.
you would have to watch this game if you want to. We're talking about these like live props, but there is the so Pollard's 83 yards away from $250,000. Again, same deal. If he gets to like 60 something, they'll probably try to get him there. If he's sitting at 40, they're not going to worry about it. But it's one of those that you can monitor. If he starts getting close, they're going to get him $250,000 in a season that means absolutely nothing. So something maybe if you want to have something to sweat in this game, which I sure as hell don't. So you guys go right ahead here with this one. On to the afternoon games, the Miami Dolphins and the New York Football Jets. This is you can find 1.5 on each side here in this one. 38.5 to 39 is our total. Of course, Mo, the big talk here is this could be Aaron Rodgers' final game. So he might not play anymore after this year. He said he doesn't need to go sit in a closet for a week to figure it out. He's going to just let us know as to how his body feels and whether he wants to go through a training camp and stuff like that over again. So could be Aaron Rodgers' last game. We also know Miami, all the incentive in the world, they can still make the playoffs in this one. However, they're going to have to try to do it with Snoop Huntley. So, yeah, he's going to have Jalen Waddle back at least. So there is that. Tough handicap here.
Yeah, it really is. This is another tough one, man.
Yeah.
Really tough. I'm with you. I'm a little bit tempted to pull the trigger on the Jets. I mean, Dolphins favored seems fine with Tua, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Yeah. I kind of think the Jets should be favored, but I mean, the Dolphins, they did not look that great against a completely dead Browns team. I mean, they got me there. I'm happy that they covered when I had a bad number because I got stuck betting them early in the week before the Tua news. When I see this Jets injury report, I mean, Sauce, Quinnen, I don't know if these guys are playing in a dead game. Part of me is just Rodgers isn't going to go out that sad, is he? But then
that's what I say. So it's almost like for me, and I'm with you. So I came very, very close to already betting the Jets, and then I had it in the account and just didn't hit the damn button. It's the closest I've come to making a bet in a long time and not making it. But I think you have to go down narrative street. I think you have to take the ride down narrative street, and you either believe in it or you don't, right? And it's hey, if this really is Rodgers' last game, then if that's the case, you probably are buying into all of the stuff. You're probably buying into all the Devontae Adams overs. You're probably buying into all of the Devontae Adams to score a touchdown, maybe even to score 2 touchdowns. He's already said he wants to catch Rodgers' 500th touchdown pass and all of it. Also, so it's either you buy into the storyline or you don't. And I kind of weirdly, because it's Aaron Rodgers and because it's a dead coaching staff and all the different stuff like that, I kind of am buying in. I know that sounds nuts.
Yeah, I mean, what else are these guys doing, right?
Yeah.
They got to put something on tape for their next job. Listen, I talked to our resident Jets expert, Rich Ryan. He's got his finger on the pulse of the Jets. He says that the team is out on Rodgers and the players hate him outside of probably Devontae, like you said, because that's his boy. But I don't know if this is super narrative street for sure, but he was telling me. So they had the team awards and Rodgers didn't win a single one, and I think it's just basically a shoo-in that the quarterback is going to win something, and he got nothing. So seems like a lot of just animosity all around there. I mean, Rodgers has been throwing management and ownership under the bus for the last 2-3 weeks. I could see him still playing hard for the staff, but he hates the organization, it seems like. I mean, but then he comes out and says, best 2 years of my life. Is he trolling? I don't even know what this is. I can't. We've been talking all year about how we can't get a read on whether the Jets are going to come out with any effort and try, and I still feel that way, man.
I'm saying, and then we get all these rumors about whatever Garrett Wilson may or may not want to trade or so. Did you hear did Rich mention anything about that?
I didn't hear anything about that one, but yeah, if you ever expect a team to just blow the tank, though, it's probably going to be a team like the Jets that has a history of doing the wrong thing at every turn.
I might sprinkle. I mean, this might just be the way I play it, and then I might sprinkle a little on 2 touchdowns for Devontae Adams, and then literally just a little nugget on 3 touchdowns at like 60-1, and then just like, because it's 11-1, 2 touchdowns for Devontae Adams and all this. It's like, if there's any kind of middle finger to the world, it would be Rodgers to be like, all right, I'll just target. Okay, you want to trade, and you guys hate me, and I'll target him 18 times in this game, and every time we get to the red zone, I'm going to throw it to him. I don't give a shit what any of you have to say or whatever. And like, he's that type of guy. There's no other guy in the NFL that I would ever peg for that except for him. But I think he is that petty. I think he's that guy.
Yeah, and like blowing the tank, middle finger to the organization on the way out. I mean, listen, if I were to bet this game, I think I would just do like Jets minus 3.5 or some type of alt where I would basically expect them to, if they play well, and then they'll probably just win. I mean, it's still Tyler Huntley on the road.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a spot where I want to be laying points for sure.
Kansas City is on the road at Denver. This is out to 10.5 in favor of Denver. 39.5 to 40 is our total out there. Kansas City has come out, and the Chiefs are not going to play their starters this week. And Denver, of course, everything in the world to play for. Mo, I know this is your team, so I will ask you as a fan, and this is what I always say to somebody. Sometimes if you ask a fan or a bettor, that can also lead you to a play in a game. And if you're Kansas City and you do hold the keys to keeping Joe Burrow and the Bengals out of the playoffs, right? Wouldn't you like extra lose to Denver? Like, wouldn't you want Denver in the playoffs over Cincinnati? Like, isn't that what you would prefer? Because I know you don't play them right off, but there's a chance that you could run into Cincinnati. And I think like 10 times out of 10, you'd rather play Denver than Cincinnati. And so I don't know. I mean, obviously they're going to rest the starters for health reasons, but isn't there like extra motivation to just let Denver win?
I don't think the Chiefs care about that. I would expect them not to. I mean, the only way they would ever see Cincinnati is if they beat Buffalo. So, which, like, thanks. And they would be obviously pretty solid favorite. I mean, the easiest path for the Chiefs definitely involves Denver being in the playoffs because that means they end up only facing one of Buffalo, Baltimore, Cincinnati, which have been their primary AFC rivals. Now, that being said, I don't know if they're thinking that far ahead. That's just like so many ifs and buts that I doubt they're worried about that. This is one of the early bets I made that I still really, really like. I think Chiefs plus 10.5 is a crazy line and really disrespectful to this Chiefs staff and Carson Wentz. Listen, we just talked about how the Eagles are making game plans for the Washington and Green Bay. Like, the Chiefs don't have anything to game plan for. They know they have a bye. This is still one of the best coaching staffs in the NFL making a game plan for their backups. I'm certain they are going to be working their normal hours and effort trying to make these guys look good. They know the Chiefs are such a together organization. They know these guys need good tape for their next jobs. And I think the Chiefs actually care about that and care about their players. And the staff and the players are in such harmony that they're going to be working hard with nothing else to prepare for. It would be different if the Chiefs were like, okay, we know we play, the winner of, in the past, whatever it was, Jacksonville Chargers, I think last year or 2 years ago, whatever it was. That's different. This is, they know they're off. I think they're going to be putting together a normal, solid game plan here. Wentz is probably an elite backup. We saw him immediately come in and I think win a game last year. Ice cold, hadn't really played all year, I believe. Listen, guys, I'm going to get on my soapbox for a second as a Chiefs fan. I have seen so many worse quarterbacks than Carson Wentz thrive under Andy Reid. Okay? I have seen Andy Reid direct Chad Henne in person to touchdowns in the playoffs coming in cold off the bench, okay? I have seen Matt Moore win a professional football game against a decent team on the road. I have seen the Chiefs compete with a Green Bay team that was pushing for the Super Bowl with Matt Moore. I mean, Carson Wentz is a step up from these guys.
Yeah.
I don't understand how the Chiefs are getting 10.5 this game. I know the Broncos need to win, but that does not mean that they need to blow the Chiefs out, and I don't think they will. So I like the Chiefs quite a bit here. I don't know if they can win or if they really want to win, but 10.5 is a lot, man.
So I do have a question for you, and this is from, and because I took a very, very hard look at this. So we know Kelsey isn't going to play. Is it going to be Noah Gray or is it going to be Hendershot? Or do you think it'll be a combination of both? Because if it's Noah Gray, who already is kind of a part of the offense and now gets the prime role in all of this, like, I can see a big day for this dude. And like, I mean, you're getting over 4-1 for anytime touchdown on a Noah Gray. You're getting like other stuff. Like I was tempted to pull the trigger, but I haven't quite yet.
Yeah, I would guess it's both. I would have to look at the Chiefs' tight end depth, but I think that, the Chiefs love to play a lot of 12. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe that's a little different now that they have Hollywood Brown. But again, we could see Hollywood Brown out there getting reps. Yeah. I mean, it's not like he had a lower body injury where like they'd be worried about him re-aggravating it running around out there. It's probably the opposite where they want him to, like, they had his snaps so limited in his first game. I didn't check the second one, but I would guess they want to get him reps and keep working him into his best shape for the playoffs. So I could see him being out there, and he's probably a prime target for a Carson Wentz bomb. And the total is so low here too. I kind of like the over, but again, if the total is anything close to sharp around 40, laying 10.5 seems crazy in that spot.
Hendershot to score a second half touchdown. So let's say they did go with Gray in the first half and then Hendershot in the second half. It's 20-1 for him to score a second half touchdown. Again, if you just want some fun bets this week, guy, in a week that is hard to handicap, right? Like in a week, if there's any week, if you want to make some fun bets just to have some sweats because you're going to be watching the games anyway, week 18 would be that week. It's a hard handicap as it is anyway. So I don't like turn my nose up at people who do this type of stuff in week 18. And look, Peyton Hendershot probably is going to be out there in the second half of this game. It's 20-1 for him to catch a touchdown in the second half of the game. So just, again, something that if you wanted a fun 20-1 ticket to have in your account, it's out there for you. All right. Got the Chargers and the Raiders. We talked about this a little bit whenever we were talking about our Saturday games. So we will rewind here, Mo, for the people that didn't watch those videos. And let's set the stage here for what could happen for the Chargers should things go a certain way on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of discussed this one before, but like, I think the Raiders are going to close favored here if the Steelers win. Now, if the Steelers lose, then it's probably going to close like Chargers -7. So this is a weird one where you could wind up holding the bag either way. But yeah, Easton Stick is one of the worst backups in the league. I don't think that he belongs on an NFL roster. Like, he lost to the Raiders 60-0 or whatever. It was 60-20 last year, I think, something like that. Like, why would the Chargers try here if the Steelers win? But if they do try, yeah, they should probably be like -7 because I've talked about this the last couple of weeks. The Chargers, nobody crushes tomato cans harder than the Chargers. I mean, they see a bad team and they... What's that meme? A bad team hate to see the Chargers coming, man. They just come out and run the ball and play suffocating defense, and they just win, 31-10 every time they play one of these bad teams. But how can Aiden O'Connell at home, when the Raiders are clearly like trying to win, not be minus against Easton Stick? I don't get it. So I have a Steelers-Raiders moneyline parlay. Some people might not be able to do that. Again, it's just a fun bet that I think is very, very correlated. Like I said, some books will not let you do it. So if you do have that available, it's already coming down on the Raiders side, and I think that's for good reason. It's just too uncertain what this game is going to look like. So again, like you said about the Peyton Hendershot thing, chaos favors long shot situations. They are more likely to happen when there is a large amount of uncertainty around a game.
Yeah. And guys, this is probably the most, like, if we're talking about like motivation, right? If Cincinnati wins, we are talking about a situation in which the Chargers would get to go play Houston instead of going to play Baltimore. And like, if you don't think that that would be just Chargers all day long. And then like Mo said, I mean, if that's not the case, then they are 1,000% going to sit and chill and have no reason to run any of these dudes out there. So this is one of the more pivotal, I should say, motivation spots that there is in all of this. I mean, you want to go play Houston. You do not want to go and play Baltimore.
The Chargers would probably be favored in Houston.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, that's how huge this is. I mean, like, so incredibly massive. One of the biggest ones outside of course, the game that we'll talk about here in just a little bit. Seattle on the road at the LA Rams. This is 6.5 now out in favor of Seattle. 38.5 to 39. Rams have already said that they are going to rest key players here in this one. So this game starts to move and has moved pretty rapidly all the way out to just under a touchdown for Seattle. This is another one of the games that if you've been paying attention to the whole incentive thing, that this is getting a ton of buzz. And I think that this is actually the one that I believe. Geno Smith is only 185 yards away from $2 million, right? 185 passing yards is not all that hard to come by. And if you listen to McDonald, actually came out and said, when asked about this yesterday, that he said, you certainly want to see these guys get there. If there's anything that we can do to help them get there, obviously while still playing to win, he had to give himself an out there while still playing to win, then we're going to do that. So this is the one that I'm like, they're going to get it. They're going to get Geno Smith 185 passing yards. So, I mean, like, that is happening 1,000%. It's $2 million, and getting to 185 passing yards is like pretty easy.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that's being overly baked into this line. Again, yeah. This one I have not added. I think I'm going to bet the Rams, though. I mean,
I kind of do too. I kind of think that the Rams are the side. If this gets to 7, if this gets to 7, which, by the way, Mo, when we're recording this here on a Friday, guys, like, the casual bettor probably still hasn't even heard about a lot of these incentive things and hasn't even cared at all about all this. Like, we might see a 7 here, and then a 7 is just getting slammed in the account with the Rams for sure. I mean, I get it, and I can like get behind the Seahawks being favored. I can even get behind the Seahawks being favored by more than 3. Mm-hmm. I can't get to 6.5 here. I mean, they still have Jimmy G, who, I mean, can't he do a poor man Stafford impression? I kind of feel like he can. He can't. Okay, if we're ranking backups and how bad we've seen backup play be and all that, like, he's got to be in the upper third, right?
Yeah, backups. I think that's a good line. My concern here would be the wide receivers. He's thrived with very good receiving options in the past. He will not have that here. I would anticipate Puka and Coop not playing. Man, but at the same time, the Seahawks have not had a good game in a month. This team looks pretty bad. So I just can't get behind them being 6.5-point favorites. Again, the players on the field are still going to be trying hard. The Rams are a good organization. They are an organization that has a healthy culture, and I just think the players are going to go out there and be solid and execute the game plan they're given, and they're probably going to be talented enough to keep it within 6.5 against a Seahawks team that's just as unmotivated as they are, basically.
So, unlike the Eagles situation, which we were talking about earlier, so you sit Puka Nacua, you sit Cooper Kupp. However, it's like, and the names aren't going to blow you away, guys, but here's the rationale after talking about it. It's DeMarcus Robinson, it's Tutu Atwell, it's Jordan Whittington, and whatever. And the reason I bring this up is these are all dudes that have had to play a part in this offense already this year, because there's been injuries to Puka Nacua, there's been injuries to Cooper Kupp, and they're just kind of part of this rotation that the Rams do with guys that just get run at the wide receiver position. And so, yeah, you get Jimmy G, and you're getting these guys that the names don't blow you away, but they're not dudes that haven't played. You're not grabbing these guys that have 10 snaps or whatever and throwing them out there like we're talking about on the Eagles side of things. Like Demarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell, Jordan Whittington, all these dudes, like they've played for this team this year. Like they have significant snaps for this team this year. And so, yeah, it's not Matthew Stafford, and sure, there'll probably be a couple of offensive linemen that sit and things like that, but it's not just like a given, in my personal opinion, that because Geno Smith needs 185 passing yards, that this automatically is like a landslide for Seattle.
Yeah, and it seems like that's what the market thinks. I mean, you can very easily pass for 200 yards and lose in a pro football game.
Yeah.
It happens multiple times every week. So, I mean, yeah, Blake Corum.
Yeah.
Like, these guys are all coming out and playing in a system that we know works, too. Like, they're still executing the same offense.
Yeah, seven is a 1,000% a bet for me here. If it gets there, and 6.5 might still in some fashion have to find its way in there. San Francisco on the road at Arizona, 4.5 in favor of Arizona, 42.5 is our total. And hopefully Mo has some commentary here from this one, because this is another one of the games that I looked at and said, I mean, okay, like who we get from the 49ers, nobody knows. Like their injury report is just nobody's practicing, whatever. Hell, man, I don't know what to do here.
Yeah, this is one same boat as the Rams for me, where like I didn't see anything that was really moving the needle for me early in the week. So this is not in my account yet. I think I'm going to be betting the Cardinals here, man. I mean, out of all the teams that I think are in Cancun mode,
yeah,
I would maybe power rank the Niners like top 3 there.
They were in everybody's top 5 heading into the season. Like they were.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, this was like full on like Super Bowl night.
Yeah,
here,
you look at a team like, let me just throw out the Panthers. Okay, we know they are going to come out and play hard because they've been dead already. They have a quarterback that they want to develop. The coaching staff wants to keep proving themselves that this is a quality coaching staff. Okay, all these Niners guys, they're not coaching for their jobs. They already know they're coming back. This injury report is wild. I mean, I didn't like pull up the Niners depth chart or anything, but just a quick glance through this injury report, I counted, I think, 8 starters who are double DNP to start the week. This is a team that, like you said, was competing for the Super Bowl. I mean, they came in with Super Bowl aspirations. I would not anticipate any sort of motivation here. And
the other thing, Mo, that we've talked about, so you have a GM that knows he's not going anywhere. You got a head coach that knows he's not going. So again, it's like they're not trying to do that last ditch effort to like save a job or save it. Like John Lynch ain't going nowhere. Kyle Shanahan ain't going nowhere. Like, you know what? So there's not even that, right? It's like literally it was, hey, our season went to ass. It is what it is. Let's revamp for next year.
Yeah, they're already planning for 2025.
Yeah.
Like the Cardinals are all, again, they're in that Panthers boat. They're trying to develop young players. The coaching staff is trying to, see what they have for next year. They're trying to work on their system, get their players, more familiar with their system. They played very hard last week and probably should have won the game.
I've also seen enough bad Josh Dobbs to know what a bad Josh Dobbs looks like as well.
Yeah, everyone in the Cardinals still seems to be doing their jobs. I don't know why they wouldn't try to keep scoring on a division rival here that's has been a bully to them in recent years. I mean, we've seen some good Josh Dobbs tape at times. We've seen him play decent, but we've also seen him play horrible.
Yeah.
Like, I think the Cardinals should be probably north of 7 here with this. I mean, just for anybody who wants to just see what I'm talking about, just go find the practice report for the Niners.
Yeah.
They've already shut down Dre Greenlaw. They've shut down Trent Williams. Like, they are clearly in 2025 mode.
Yeah, this one, another one in the account for me already. Don't have a ton of bets this week, but that one in the account for me already. It's just there's no coaching staff motivation, no front office motivation, no anything like that. All those guys are all coming back. It's no big deal here. Your quarterback's dead now. It's just like it is. All right, so this is the game of the week, and pretty awesome that maybe the game of the season comes with the absolute last game of the year. Minnesota on the road at Detroit, not only for the division, but for the number 1 seed in the NFC as well. Just absolute craziness here that we get this on Sunday Night Football. It is 2.5 to 3 in favor of Detroit. 56 to 56.5 is our total. We saw this thing just race, Mo, whenever this thing launched. Everybody betting the over. Finally got some resistance, I think about 57.5 or something like that, 58 something, and then now back down to 56 at some spots out there. Those 2.5s that I'd mentioned are juiced, so likely to be 3 Detroit, at least at every book at some point, and looks like we'll get some buyback here and there along the way. Since it is kind of our last regular season one here, just a tip of the cap to Minnesota and what they've been able to accomplish this year. Double your win total. Sam Darnold, resurrect this career. This coaching staff deserves all the flowers, everything that they're getting. Great job on both sides of the ball. And the consistency here, Mo, is the thing that, like, I went back and looked, and it's like, we saw there was a time in the season in the first 6 weeks where the Bears were like literally the number 1 defense in the NFL. And then you watch, and then from like weeks 8 to 10, they start falling. And then from 10 to 12, it's even worse. And then 12 to whatever, they're literally like a bottom 5 defense in all of the NFL. Minnesota's offense and Minnesota's defense has consistently stayed inside the top 8 in nearly every single category the entire season long. Like, they have been so incredibly consistent on both sides of the ball. And then Detroit, we asked this on this podcast a month ago. When were the defensive injuries going to kind of show up for Detroit? When might we see? I think there's been a little bit of cracks in that defense here over the last couple of weeks. I know it was garbage time, but Caleb Williams went for 300 yards against him and all that stuff. So I played the full field goal with Minnesota. It's fine. Call me a fish here, call me a square, call me whatever, but I believe in this team. I believe in that defense. I believe in that offense. And I think this Detroit defense finally might kind of meet its match here with what Darnold never able to do with Jefferson and Addison.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with everything you're saying, unfortunately. I feel like I'm kind of holding the bag on Lions division, which I shouldn't, because I have plus 130 on a minus right now.
Yeah.
But I don't feel good about it. I think the Vikings are the better team at this point. I bet the Vikings last time these two teams played. I thought them getting plus at home was crazy. That turned out to be basically a flip, so whatever. I just feel like with the injuries Detroit has taken, I feel like the Vikings are the better team now. But that's the side I would take. But like I said, I have my Detroit future, so I'm just rolling with that and hoping the market is right. I don't feel like it is, though. Now, there's one thing I'm going to say that is very much in the Lions' favor here, and that is Ben Johnson and Jared Goff do seem to have Brian Flores' number. They have done very well against him. So that is the big thing that gives me pause here. But just the Jimmies and Joes, I think, are better at this point for the Vikings. And a play I did make here, I mean, you kind of hinted at it. I got a good number on the under. I got 57. Yeah. That seemed crazy to me. I know that these offenses are great and these defenses are beatable. They're not complete pushovers, okay? The Vikings still have a very good defense overall. And the Lions, I know every Lions game has basically been a circus. And first half last week was completely ridiculous with the Niners getting 12 yards a snap or whatever was going on there. But this is the game. Like you said, everybody is dialed in. This defense at home is going to come to play. Both teams love to run the ball when they have the lead. We saw that with the Vikings last week where they kind of almost pissed that game away.
Yeah. I think given truth serum and you ask Kevin O'Connell, he'd be like, we should have done that a little differently. Like, yeah.
I think these teams are still going to just like pound the rock a lot and have it work. Both of these teams are going to be burning the clock because they both are capable of running the ball. I know that there's a massive mismatch on the edge with the Vikings receivers against these Lions DBs. Obviously, that's a concern. But I think there's enough defensive juice in this game that they can keep it under 60. I know that sounds ridiculous with how these Detroit final scores keep coming in every week. But the bigger the spot, the tighter the offenses tend to get. And the market already moved with me a bit. Yeah. I think I'd still play under 56, man. It's so high.
It really is. And, just because you have success through the air doesn't necessarily mean that that's always going to equal points or whatever and stuff. Like, I just think that with Minnesota and Darnold and Jefferson and Addison and Hawkinson, now that he's been back a month, is starting to be a little bit more part of this offense and stuff like that. Like, you look, it was this attrition for the Lions defense and so now you look at these last 3 games, 360 plus given up through the air to Josh Allen, 330 plus given up through the air to Caleb Williams, 370 plus given up through the air to Brock Purdy. And I understand that some of those games were guys in chase mode, but like, you don't want to hand out 370 passing yards. You don't want to hand out 330 passing yards. I mean, like there is a little bit of something going on there over the last month of the season with this Detroit team, rightfully so. I mean, like, it's just hell. They're running out a whole bunch of backups, right? I mean, it's very tough to play at as high a level as they were over the course of the entire season. So I have a lot of Detroit futures as well. I think Minnesota's the side here. I mean, it sucks to say. It's just, I think Minnesota's the side. I actually think at a field goal, it is actually a very appealing bet to me.
Yeah, I could see that as a hedge if you are in the same boat as us. I'm just hoping the market is right and Detroit is the side, but I think the Vikings are a better team at this point, and this line should probably be close to even to me. So if you are getting the Vikings at plus, I think it's a good bet, man.
I do too. I really do. And I'll tell you this, if for whatever reason we see people on the last game of the year and it's their last time to bet and they come in and just start flooding money in on Detroit, and if this gets on the other side of 3, holy shit. Like, I am not going to be able at that point to stay away, and I'll try to thread the needle, and see if I can't double dip there on that one for sure. But awesome game. Absolutely best game of the year for the last game of the year. So awesome that we get that here in this season. Guys, everything we do, absolutely free. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button down below. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know in the comments section how you are playing any of this really tough Week 18, lots and lots of big spreads, lots and lots of motivational stuff going on, and certainly some stuff that could affect as the way the games play out throughout the course of the day. So do your best. Don't go nuts here this week, and head over to the Discord, absolutely free as well, upper right-hand corner of thelines.com, and everybody else in there is talking about this week, so see if they give you any insight as well. We're not going anywhere. We'll be here throughout the course of the playoffs all the way through the Super Bowl as well. Hopefully won you some bets here over the last half of the season. Been pretty good here on the pod, so hopefully we continue this all the way through the Super Bowl. For Mo, I am Matt. Good luck on all your Week 18 bets.